very much. And as I pointed earlier, I'm very happy to be a part of this particular program. So every child has a great association with the grandparents compared to the father or mother because the grandparents comes with a significant amount of love and affection without any expectation, and also have a wide variety of knowledge which may be the parents may not have, because the grandparents are already well settled in their life, and also they have a uh, new philosophy for their existence. Because if you see Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that we move from one step to another, the last step of self actualization is a very long process. Some people may achieve it at some point of time, but it takes a longer time. But the grandparents, at one point of time, they self actualization through the motivating the young grandchildren, because they are very open, they are not they are willing to share their knowledge. So in this case, as a grandchild, I had a great opportunity to have association with my grandparents from my mother's side as well as my father's side. And especially my father's mother is a great feminist. She never went to school, never did anything, but she's a great feminist I have ever seen, because she lost her husband at the very prime age with two children, young children, and she was a very rich person. She held several acres of land in a place called Collie Hills, had tea estate, had coffee estate, cardamom estate. But due to the bad activities of my grandfather, everything was on a loss. And at one point of time, my grandmother was reduced to a coolie in the same estate when which she was the Mem Sahib. So from Jamindar, she became a Jamadar. But she never lost resilience. She worked in the farms. She educated my father, and my father completed an advanced diploma in commercial practice from a central government polytechnic in Chennai. And many times he used to suffer in the canteen or the hostel that grandmother would not be able to pay the fee, so he will be sent out. But at the same time, after some time, she would send money. So her thirst to make her father, my father, educated was something very great, and she continued to her work in the farmlands, and she will do any odd jobs. And also, she has a great marketing and sales ability. Any small thing also she will try to it. So I had an opportunity to always travel with her when I was a child. She used to do a milk business. She had some three buffaloes, and she does everything alone. She never have anybody with her, and we used to just stand only, like mostly observing. She will not allow us to work because she is telling, no, no, you are an officer's children. You should only watch but not do that. But I will take care. Don't worry. So once my grandmother, she sold broomsticks in the town where my father is an officer there. So some of the colleagues told my father that we saw your mother selling broomsticks. My father felt little embarrassed, and he politely went to my grandmother and told, I heard this thing, is it true? Then my grandmother retaliated, yes, it is me. What is your problem? Then my father told, see, I'm an officer in this town and I have some respect. If you do this business, it will impact on my image that I am letting my mother to do odd jobs. In spite I am being an officer and earning a good money, I don't like your job. My grandmother retaliated, I also don't like your officer job. Can you please resign for me and come with me and do some agriculture work? So, this is the kind of thing that she told. The dignity of the labor doesn't lie in the the profession which hold officer or broomstick seller or anything, that any job is the same. Only thing that you need passion for that particular job and do it with sincerity, honesty, and commitment, and you will be successful in life. So you take care of your job, and I will take care of my job. And until death, you will be surprised to know never a day she asked a single penny from my father, and she always gives the same amount of money she used to give when during he was in the college. She continued until death, and she died at the age of around 90, I believe. And that is the resilient elderly I have seen in my personal life. And what more motivation as a child I can get? Because you may go to Harvard, you may go to Yale business school, but the kind of selling and marketing I learned from my grandmother how to sell things. So when I became an academic too, because my father didn't want me to be an entrepreneur, so he told you are good at academics, do that. But still, I'm an academic entrepreneur. I become an edupreneur, and then I became a social entrepreneur. I started two NGOs, and I started doing things. And very recently, now I have become more entrepreneur myself. Even I have started food and hotel industry, hospitality industry, which I am doing as a activity which will help to grow my institute, because I have a philosophy of subsidized education. I want everybody to study criminology and other sciences. So suppose we are having a very high fee structure, like Madam told, NICFS all have become more institute with more heavy fees. I don't want to do with my institute. So, but we need to sustain and do things, because we have also on office, assistant professor salary. So that way I have created another food and hospitality company which will be profit oriented, and that money will be coming inside my institute and my company, which is an education company, which will grow. So here we have the concept of having the elderly in every stage, like in terms of professors. For example, like in the US, there is no retirement of professors. In Australia, in many countries like that. So only when the university feels that you need to go, then only they may say, like, so there was one professor who was 99 years old, and he was coming, and the university told, sir, please resign, because that you are suffering, we cannot see you suffering, otherwise you can continue until your death. So that kind of thing is there. But unfortunately in India, a professor retires at 60 is a very, very bad thing which I am seeing. That we should continue, because the professor's knowledge grows more and more and more when they become ripe fruit, and they become something different, I always feel. But after reaching 60, then immediately you tell them get out, is a very absurd thing which I'm seeing in India. So probably we are more into administrative aspect. That's why people think that after 60 you are not that good administrator. Maybe some of the mental faculties and others may subside little, but the knowledge and the wisdom a senior person possess cannot be measured in any quantity. I always believe that the more you are getting more older, your knowledge, your systems, everything work, and also the kind of forgiveness which elderly have, young people do not have. In fact, I would see that the emotional level of youngsters is reducing day by day, and 2K kids with the use of the mobile and the internet, and I'm finding that they are more cutthroat kind of people they are developing, and they have less value system. Honesty is not there, commitment is not there, politeness is not there. All these things now lies in the hands of the elderly people to guide them properly. Because I'm seeing that the Western nations have made us more individual nations, like we are becoming more individual, and that concept which may work or may not work, like we have to see. And Madam told that she waited until the growth of herself and the parents they died, and then the children went, and she now feels that she is not having that kind of thing what she should do after retiring from postal service. So this kind of vacuum is now happening, because we are always equipped with something to do, especially taking care of the family. But once the children are grown, then we find that we have a vacuum. What to do now? because we dedicated our life to the children. But in the US and other countries, I see that everybody, whether they are 40 year, 60 year, they have some kind of a occasion, and age is a irrelevant factor in the US, which I have seen. I went to one university for an interview, and during the interview time, they told me to look after some real estate properties, because in case if you are selected, you are going to do that. So they made me associated with one madam called Alice, and I was surprised by the kind of the dignity and the resilience that madam had, and she is around 67 years old. She drove the car for me for 10 properties herself. And I was also amazed to see that all the employees working in our office are also the same 65-year-old. And if you call them madam, if you call them auntie, grandma, they'll be very angry. You should always call Alice. Yes, Alice, please tell me. So Alice took care of me for that particular 3 days, 10 properties. Then I delineated one property of that. And I told, this property I like, can I have it? Then Alice told me, you can choose some other thing. Why are you choosing this? Alice, this is looking good. She told me, it's looking good, yes, but I would show you some other thing. Then I asked Alice, why you are not doing this for me? And Alice told, no, this is my mother-in-law's property. So you know that this mother-in-law, daughter-in-law problem is not only in India, there also it's there. So she symbolically told me, not this one, and she told that I'll show you some other property. So that particular 3 days with her in the travel, she drove the car and she showed the place and explained everything. Made me to think a lot that why in India that after the age of 60, the retirement and everything, we are cocooned in one place. Why are we not giving the kind of knowledge or the work to the society? Why we are always thinking, yeah, we have become senior citizen. Actually, the word senior citizen, I believe, should not be there. What is the word senior? Why, if you are senior citizen, you may come with the privileges, but the point here is that the moment we become senior citizen, I think the other people, they think that they are old. They are old. What do they know about things which we are doing? See, in fact, the new age children, which we call digital natives, are very, very smart in using mobile phones. But I find that that is not sufficient. You may be using a technology, but using technology doesn't make you a scholarly person or a knowledgeable person or a person with wisdom. And that way, I sincerely believe that the resilient elderly of the country, they have a duty to help these youngsters, because India is aging in a different way. The coming years, another 5 years, you'll find that more people are in the adolescent and the above age of 25, and elderly people are comparatively going to be less in the country. When you go to the Japanese, large number of elderly people are going to happen in that country, but in India, that is going to be the reverse. We are going to be a country of young people. But what is the point of being a country of young people who doesn't possess emotions, whose emotional quotient is very, very less? In my company, I have fired 4 people who are digital natives or 2K kids, because they do not know how to fit in a team. They do not know how to work in an organization, which is like they come with a kind of arrogance, they come with a I know it all attitude. So all these things, I believe there is a gap between themselves and their grandparents, which fortunately I had an opportunity to interact with my grandmother and my grandfather. In fact, my mother's grandfather was a great role model for me in many things, the kind of a resilience he always possessed. Like, if you want to see his daughter, he will travel 5 hours, and with a jackfruit, he will just appear. No phone calls, no letters, nothing like that. So the kind of love and affection one can show to the children that I have seen from him only. But nowadays we are having more interaction online or mobile. So we are not having that kind of a physical human interaction, which I think Madam already told that we should meet physically. So this is a technology which is only a medium and not the end itself. So I believe that elderly people can be utilizing the technology, but still some kind of a physical meeting is required. And many things are happening online. In fact, more victimization is happening online by elderly people are becoming victims. As a cyber criminologist, I believe that it is also my duty to support elderly people. And earlier, Ranjit organized one program, and I spoke on the strategies for preventing elderly cybercrime victimization. So I hope that this particular workshop will only be a kind of a opening, and still more to happen. And I also give a kind of a solution to certain problems related to cyber elderly who are facing cyber crimes, or how to move in the cyberspace. And we can join hands together, and I welcome PSY-FI Solutions, SIFS, and other organizations which have organized this particular program. And especially Professor Subra Sanyal is also our honorary professor of psychology, criminal psychology. And once again, I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for inviting me to talk on this particular forum. And I hope that we will have all a fruitful discussion, and some form of agenda or some form of conceptual evolution will happen in this workshop. And thank you very much.